Welcome to the Wedco podcast, where wedding wisdom meets street smarts.
We're dishing out all the tips, tricks, and wedding goss to take your wedding to the next level.
Time to ditch the formalities and get this party started. Hello and welcome to the Wedco podcast. I'm Togger.
And I'm Joel, and we are here at the beautiful Fig Tree.
Yeah, what were you just laughing about? You good? Today we have Che, the owner of Figtree, Byron Bay Weddings and the Wedding Shed.
Yep.
Correct, yes, on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Can't wait.
Thank you.
Hosting us in this beautiful venue. Very lucky. Thank you.
We're blessed, aren't we?
Exactly.
Indeed.
It's so nice when you just look over there and see the lighthouse. It's a pretty nice spot. Perfect. Well, yeah, thank you so much. We just want to have a chat about you in business, about Figtree, and then also, how all these different businesses have evolved, and now pretty much if you are coming to Byron Bay, they are dealing with you or one of your companies.
Yeah.
The family.
The family. Yep. Perfect. So maybe do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and...
Really simply, my name's Che. As I usually say, I'm just a cook.
Yep.
I'm a chef, and I just really want to cook and serve for people and help them get married in Byron Bay.
Yeah.
This is my home. This is where I'm from. And I can't actually think of a better spot in the world
Yeah.
to live, to get married, and to share with people.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all about. It's changing from this is what I do to how do we help people.
Totally.
And that's how do you help couples? How do you help everyone else in business? How do you help the people around you? And that's kind of how I kind of focus a lot of my energy on.
Yep.
It's not so much what I do, it's what I can do for others.
Yeah.
So that led me in from the kitchen to someone phoning me up saying, "Oh, can we have our wedding ceremony, or can we have our wedding at your place?" And I was like, "Sure,
Yep.
let's go for it. What do you want?"
Yeah.
And then if you put the other person at the center of it and say, "What can I do for you?
Yeah.
How can I help?"
Yeah.
Then the journey is really simple. As long as you surround yourself with good people, which that's what we try and do with Byron Bay Weddings and all the people that work with me at Byron Bay Weddings or the Wedding Shed or Elope
Yep.
or at the Fig Tree. It's if I surround myself with good people, empower them, ask them what they want,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then if I can facilitate them, then it's an amazing day, it's an amazing moment, it's an amazing life.
Yeah.
So that's what I try and focus on the most.
And I feel like that goes further than obviously the clients, the couples you have here. You are very service orientated, and everyone we've spoken to before this is like you are pretty much community. And I feel like there are so many other wedding collectives around everywhere now, and I feel like that's the big difference, even for other wedding professionals. Is
100%.
It almost sounds like you're a business coach to all of the people underneath the umbrella as well. Whereas I feel like a lot of the other ones are pay your money, you might book a wedding, that's it, kind of thing.
Like, as they say, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yep.
And when I kind of started off all this, like at the end of the day, I think I was a 28-year-old chef.
Yep.
And people are like, "How are you going to run weddings?" And to me, I was like, "Well, hang on, I've looked after people.
Yep.
All I have to do is look after people." And then if you're looking after the people around you, and I think it started with looking after the photographer, looking after the celebrant, making sure the hair and makeup artist was comfortable.
Yep.
And if you're providing the tools for them, then at the end of the day, everyone's going to be stoked.
Yep.
So it's kind of empowering everyone. And everyone's was a individual sole trader.
Yep.
So it's just joining the dots.
Yeah.
Ironically, it makes it easier to plan a wedding if we know the people we're working with. It's just like, I speak to a lot of people who are builders. It's like, if you've got your preferred tilers, your preferred electricians, your preferred carpenters, your preferred plumbers, and you're working with them every week in, week out, it's easy.
Yeah, for sure.
It's when you've got that random plasterer that you've never met before and they're doing this and you're like, that's when it becomes really a lot challenging.
Yeah, definitely.
You're almost more particular. You're like kind of looking over their work and being like, is that job good enough? And rather than just you focusing on yours.
100%. And then when something comes out of the ordinary, a flood happens.
Yeah.
A fire happens.
Yeah.
Someone gets sick. It's really easy to solve.
Yeah.
Because you've already, not only do you trust them, you've involved them in your community.
Yep.
So you try and involve all the photographers to meet all the other photographers.
Yeah.
So that day that they're, life happens.
Yeah.
What happens if you're a photographer and you're a sole business and you might wake up that morning and something tragic's happened or the river's flooded and you can't get across. If you've got a friend who lives on the other side of the river, that all you need to do is debrief them on what's happening with the wedding. You trust them.
Exactly.
You can actually, you don't have to phone me up or one of the planners up and say, oh, Che, I've got a problem. You phone me up with a solution.
Yeah, for sure.
Jack's on the other side of the river.
He's
all
got it
sorted.
covered.
He's got it covered. I know how to edit it. The bride hasn't had to worry about it. The money's transferred behind the scenes. Everyone's happy. So
It's so crazy how like you go back to the builder, and that's completely accepted as that's just what happens. The builder's got his team; it reflects on him as a builder, and it feels like it's such a taboo subject of like vendors. It seems like you only work together because you just bros and you just want to hang
mates,
out. Be like, no, it makes an amazing experience.
And it's you're thinking of photographer and videographer looking at a ceremony. If there's a synergy there, it makes it so much easier for the musician and the celebrant, then ultimately for the bride and groom. And that's what it's all about. If you put them at the center of the reasons why you do things, then it becomes easy. Like I love making exceptions to the rules. I love when it's the bride's sister's next door neighbour who's making the cake. We make exceptions all the time. All I need her to know is like we treat you like a professional. We need to know what's in the cake. How many bits of ply do you have in there supporting the third tier? What are the ingredients?
Can someone cake smash that?
Is it going to turn up 1 hour before the guests turn up? Have you remembered about daylight savings? How are you going to transport it from the north of Brisbane? And thankfully all of us have been through so much over the last couple of years. Talking of cakes, I had a cake maker going from Sunshine Coast to Byron Bay and had to go around Brisbane itself to avoid COVID at one stage. And it's like, we've all been through those things. So now it's great just talking about the weather.
Exactly. Pouring old weather again.
And apparently this year and next year it's just going to be dry and hot.
Exactly. Plenty of weddings. And even we did hear, I don't want to talk too much about COVID, but even during COVID, how well you dealt with that. And, you were pretty much the leader in this area of restructuring weddings and even holding meetings with all the suppliers and keeping everyone in check. And this is what's happening.
Well, I was very fortunate or unfortunate. I try to take every situation that happens to you as a learning curve. So the unfortunate thing was our restaurant burnt down arguably 4 or 5 months before COVID. So, that puts a bit of spanner in the works. I think we had about 120 weddings already pre-booked at the Figtree and probably another 80 or 90 weddings off-site that we still, Figtree was our home base. So the next day we had to kind of go into that mode. How do we deal with things? So it was about postponing weddings, finding alternate venues. And we'd been dealing with that for about 4 or 5 months. And then COVID hit. So suddenly it was like, hang on, let's get that spreadsheet back out
we've been
again.
doing this.
We know how to do this. And it was really simple things. First is, there's things that are out of your control. The fire was out of our control. Then how can you help the couple? Now, the couple are the ones that are really, they're the ones that have got all their money tied up. Friends and family coming, such an emotional decision and an important part of their life. So when the emotions are involved, it becomes very hard to make a decision. So if you take the emotions out, and that's our job as being professionals, is take the emotions out. How can we help you? So then you kind of try and answer their questions like, well, I've got answers for you. This is what we can do. We can postpone it, but when we postpone it, we need to align in all the different suppliers. So it's just going through that process. So when COVID did hit, it was very easy for me to turn around and have a cup of coffee with people. A lot of the people when they'd started their business, asked for my advice and had kind of copied our T's and C's and kind of gone through that. So it was, I kind of remember saying to a couple of them, just hold. Think of that scene of Braveheart. Just hold. No need to panic just yet. Just hold. Just every inquiry, deal with it with compassion, with understanding. And the people on the other end of the line, they're the ones that are really freaking. Internally.
You need to be that calm voice of reason.
Internally, we've all got lives and bank accounts and children and, different things as well. But, they engaged us to help them. It wasn't the other way around. So then we've got to be the service providers. And yes, that helped through there. COVID was hard, but likewise, last year was hard. Last year was probably a year and a half's worth of weddings in 1 year. And a lot of those weddings, probably half of them were postponements. So probably the biggest thing that happened with that is thankfully, everyone paid their kind of half balances and quarter balance
Yeah,
installments through COVID, which
floating.
helped a lot of our businesses through COVID.
Definitely.
Inflation kicked in last year. So that means our 2-year-old contract was fixed.
Yep.
And, we were sitting in inflation with wages, with food, with electricity going at 20%. So last year was one of those years where everyone was extremely busy.
Yep.
A lot of people weren't busy thinking of the next year because they were sole traders. They were busy kind of thinking of just getting through.
Yep.
The weather was awful. So they were just thinking of getting through.
Yep.
Yeah.
And assuming next year would be just as busy. And then by the end of the year or the end of the financial year, they started looking at their bank account going, hang on, I'm not making any money.
Yeah.
The good thing of being in business for a long time, like it's been 20 years for myself now as being owning my own company, self-employed, it's, sometimes you work for free.
Yeah, that's
And as long as you love doing what you're doing, it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
And, I don't know the amount of times I'd come home and look at my wife and my children and she'd just be like, well, at least you can cook dinner for us.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll always cook dinner for you. Yeah. So, like you go through those moments, but then you look at next year and you go, okay, look at the positivity of next year. And it's, every year I think, every moment I think is better. Like I turned 46 this year and I was just like, I said to a friend, I said, man, when's this hill end? It just keeps on getting better.
Yeah.
I don't know when over the hill is.
Yep.
Because it's just, I don't know, this is great.
Yeah.
It's 47.
Yeah. 47. I got another year.
I mean, 47 is as good as 46. I'm stoked. It's just, it's all more interesting. You learn more things. There's more challenges ahead of you. I think as long as you keep inspired and keep passionate about it and surround yourself with good people, and that keeps the passion.
I definitely feel that. Like when you were 20, you're like, oh my God, 46.
Yeah.
But now it's all right. You just gets better and better, and you're just experiencing more and more, and there's more joy and more happy. And
I mean, you're inspiring me to have more children now.
Number six
number
more.
5.
I'm only 21. It's just shocked. Oh, perfect. And like even with the Figtree, like my kids all go to a Steiner school locally around here, and we love the sustainability and the ethos that you have here from garden to table. Has that always been the way growing up? Is that when your parents had the restaurant as well? Was that it was?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of sounds funny because it's, I think probably about 10 years ago, it all became that kind of paddock to play, 100 miles.
Yeah.
But realistically, that's how it always was.
It always was, yeah.
So it's we're very also lucky in the Northern Rivers because everything does grow.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And we can get everything from here.
Yep.
So, it's a combination of the both. The biggest thing I learned probably in my cooking evolution was, coming from Australia and coming from the Northern Rivers, everything grows and you've got all these different cuisines that come to you.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of whole confusion side of things. Because you've got an abundance of everything. Sometimes it's about showing restraint in cooking. And it's like that with design or anything. There's an abundance of things around the world. How do you suddenly turn around and go, cool, this is what I concentrate on?
Yeah.
And what I love about weddings particularly is every relationship's different.
Yeah.
Therefore, every wedding celebration can be different. Mm-hmm. How do you personalise that? My brother was involved with me in weddings, and I love my brother, and we have a wonderful working relationship. Where I actually just fell in love more with weddings, and I think he kind of didn't enjoy it as much. Was I didn't look at it as just as chicken and fish, alternate serve. I looked at it as like, okay, what was your first date? What was the meal you had? Let's cook that.
Yeah.
What's your grandma's favourite dish? Let's cook that. I sometimes now when I'm speaking to people about dietary requirements, I'm like, cool, let's do that for everyone. But what's your dad really love?
Yeah. Amazing.
He loves a steak with chips, does he?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's cook him that.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to cook a vegan meal here and a pescatarian there and a gluten-free and a nightshade meal there, and your dad really likes a ribeye steak with chips.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Bring it out to him.
That's sick.
And so sometimes people say, what do you do? I turn around and say, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
So when I'm speaking with couples, it's, because we can look at all the weddings and, everyone arrives at 3:00. Mm-hmm. 3, champagne and drink on arrival, 3:30 ceremony, and you can go through it. How do we change that? How do we make that more personal?
Yeah.
I think you're talking recently about,
first
looks, is that better or worse?
Yeah.
Well, it's not for me to dictate if it's better or worse.
Yep.
It's for me to say to the couple,
What suits you?
These are the pros and cons.
Yep. Yeah, it's like building
what do you want?
information.
What do you want?
Yeah.
You know, how's that going to add to the theatre of your day?
Yeah.
You know, and if you've got that information that you can impart with the couple and share with them, you know, because at the end of the day, it's their first time of doing it. It's their first time building a house. It's their first time doing any of this.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And then if it's their second time, they usually elope.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
So, but how do you make that journey and inspire them and kind of encourage them to kind of come out of their shells and share with you?
Yeah.
You know, like I remember, you know, I got married twice, same lady.
Yeah.
We actually eloped.
Yep.
And my wife's Japanese and we went to Japan and I'd seen enough weddings and seen the formula. So I was just like, I just want something different.
Yep.
It was all in Japanese. I don't speak a word of Japanese. And because I look a lot like Tom Cruise, I dressed up as the Last Samurai. And, you know, everyone kind of kept asking me, are you Tom? And anyway.
You're doing your own stunts and everything.
I was doing everything. And the elopement was amazing. It was all in Japanese. I didn't know what was happening next. And it was just a beautiful celebration.
Yeah.
You know, like the time of year we chose was based around the weather. You know, we love snowboarding.
Yeah.
You know, so we went snowboarding for the week after with our nearest and dearest.
That's so cool.
And then when I came back to Australia, it was all the ladies in the office. I said, what did you do? I said, we just went and got married.
Yeah.
And they couldn't believe it. And I'm like, but you do weddings.
Yeah.
I was like, it was awesome.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
You know, and it was all back to front over in Japan. It was it was great. And then we came back here and had a big Sunday lunch.
Amazing.
Love it.
And that was perfect. You know, and there was a little bit of formality, but more importantly, it was what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there was 10 people at the ceremony, I think 130 people at the reception.
Perfect.
But it was what we wanted. And the nice thing was there was really some beautiful people involved in the celebrant was Michelle Shannon, and she actually questioned us and said, sure you don't want to have everyone there for the ceremony?
Yeah.
You know, and share that with them. And it was providing that question back to us that allowed us to kind of answer it ourselves and go, no, Michelle, we just want the 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And I was so thankful that she provided that kind of wisdom to question ourselves. So then you can be reassured, no, that's what I do want.
That's exactly what we want.
Yeah. So that's what I find when I'm speaking with couples and working with the planning team, or is really kind of how do you provide that kind of information to assist people, so they can make an informed decision.
Yeah. It's like really educated questions to make them think on that.
Yeah.
So we've changed even the inquiry process that we do.
Yeah.
With the inquiries. So we've got some beautiful marketing and it's showing lovely weddings and I guess the wide range of things that we can do with Byron Bay Weddings or the Wedding Shed or Figtree. And that's very attractive. But then when it comes to the inquiry side of things, it's very emotive. It's like, what do you want for your wedding day?
Yeah.
How can we help you? What's important for you? You know, asking questions about what's your budget is kind of like how long's a piece of string?
Yeah.
You know, if you haven't planned a wedding before, like...
15 grand?
Well, what do you include? Do you include the shoes?
Yep.
Do you include the air travel?
Yep.
You're coming up 2 or 3 times to see the venue? Do you include the bridesmaids' dresses? Like, you don't know.
Yeah, completely.
So you can, the figure that you're going to blurt out is really, well, how much do I really want to spend?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then you speak to the groom or you speak to someone who proposed and said, how's this going to work out? You know, are you looking forward to the wedding? They're just stoked to have got a yes.
Yeah.
You know, so you ask them about, how it went. And they're like, cool, man, I could just get married in the backyard. Like, I got a yes already.
Yeah.
You know, so it's then kind of saying, well, you got the yes.
Yeah.
But we are going to have this beautiful day. What are some of the things you want at that beautiful day?
Yeah.
You know, like what music do you want to listen to?
Yeah.
And as soon as you ask them some kind of pertinent questions of, what drink do you want to have?
Yeah.
You know, what's your favorite cocktail?
Yeah.
And then they start to feel like, this is my day.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Like, for those that have been married, it's just an amazing day.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of the top venues and kind of / a lot of the top vendors do is like don't make it about themselves, their packages that they offer. It's just like we've all heard it's your wedding, your way, but like we truly mean that. You know, like you've said it 6 different ways, and I think it really speaks like true to like your belief and your team's or your family's belief of just like how can we serve you? Not like you're getting married here at a venue. Sure, we're going to put it on for you, but like how can we make this yours and unique? And we do X amount of weddings here, but like let's make it yours.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's what more can we do for you?
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it's telling us the things you don't like.
Yeah.
They're just as important as the things you do like.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then when I speak with, suppliers, it's like, what else can you do?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
other
yeah.
services,
Yep.
you're going to be there for the wedding day. And I was speaking to a celebrant this morning and I said, you're there anyway.
Yeah.
You're there before the
Yep.
wedding. You're going to be there after the ceremony for
Yep.
another half an hour. Why don't you just assist the photographer
Yeah.
and kind of get that group photos happening?
Yep.
That's
You know?
helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really helpful for
Yeah.
the photographer
Yeah,
rather
definitely.
than them standing on a chair and
Hey,
yelling
guys.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a natural MC. Just do it as a bonus.
Yeah.
So I think we're all there to work together. And it's the hardest thing is, I'm not going to compare wedding planners or anything to used car salesmen or real estate agents.
Yep.
But, I think people go into the conversation and they're like, oh, what's the tax of a wedding?
Yeah, yeah,
Gonna
yeah.
be? Or how much more expensive is this going to be?
Yeah.
And so they're going in quite defensive.
Yep.
When you can break down that and say, look, where do you want to get married in Byron Bay?
Yep.
You obviously want to get married in Byron Bay because it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's such we're within 3 hours of 80% of the Australian population.
Yep.
And as a destination, where else would you want to get married?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Like you think of some of the other destinations within Australia, like it ain't Byron Bay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
There's so much beautiful accommodation.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the little coastal towns that are
Yeah.
within 15 minutes of each other.
It's gorgeous.
So it's kind of, when I speak to people that are thinking of other regions, they're like, Byron Bay, it's so good.
Yeah. Even when you tell people that you live in Byron, they're like, Byron?
And, to come traveling here and spend 3 or 4 days with your nearest and dearest and your family and friends, it's like, cool, go to Banya.
Yeah,
go
yeah,
and have a really
yeah,
nice
yeah.
bathhouse
Uh-huh.
experience. Go
Yep.
and have a hit of golf at Tevan. Go see kayaking.
Yep.
Yep.
And think of the amazing, cool accommodation there is, the beautiful restaurants.
Yeah.
And it's all so central.
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
when people want to then get married in Byron Bay, it's like, okay, well, how do you want to celebrate your day?
Yeah.
So then to me, I feel blessed because it's probably 10, 15 venues that we work with.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's kind of each venue suits something kind of slightly different.
Yep.
And the venues are really a reflection of the venue owners.
Yeah, yeah.
You could get married on top of a hill, underneath the stars, looking at a beautiful sunset.
Yep.
You could get married on the beach in Byron,
Yep.
having cocktails and canapes on the deck. You can get married by a beautiful lake.
Yeah.
There's just so much option.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's then trying to kind of piece it all together,
Yeah.
bearing in mind a budget,
Yep.
Of course.
bearing in mind guest numbers and things like that as well. It's then trying to help couples envision their day
Yep.
and then guide them into which venue is the best.
Yeah.
I love it because I first meet people and they send off their initial inquiry, and quite often I'm doing a viewing with them. And then the next time I probably meet them is at a tasting.
Yeah, okay.
They've come to the restaurant, we're doing a beautiful tasting for them. And I'm like, so where'd you end up going?
Yeah.
And they're like, we decided we had to have 150 people and we're having, celebration at the Byron Surf Club.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're having cocktails and canapes on the deck. We're having some beautiful feasting tables. I'm like, awesome.
That's
Yeah,
sick.
yeah.
And
exactly.
you look back at their inquiry and it was like, 30 people.
Yeah.
intimate. And I love it. It's because hopefully along that journey,
Yeah.
they've kind of got to know what they really want.
Yeah.
And sometimes it flips the other way around. They
Yeah.
wanted 150 and now they're back to having 20, 30.
Yeah, yeah.
And quite often we're the first people to turn around and say, go and see other regions.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Go and speak to other venue owners, speak to all the suppliers.
Yep.
I was actually going to turn around and kind of ask the suppliers to do nearly a testimony. Like everyone gets brides and grooms testimonies. But
Yep.
I was just the other day speaking with the team and said, it'd be really good to get the suppliers. I mean, at the end of the day, they're the ones that have seen all the regions,
Yep,
all the
exactly.
different venues.
Yep.
Maybe they should be our testimonies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why should you get married in Byron Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
with
amazing.
Byron Bay weddings. And
Yep.
it's, I think the synergy is probably the biggest word I hear when people speak about getting married with Byron Bay weddings is the synergy between the inquiry all the way through, the whole way through the day, all the suppliers that are all interwoven within the business. And I think that's probably one of our biggest strengths is the fact that everyone actually just loves what they're doing and
Yeah.
works really well with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started, you obviously started the restaurant. You were saying earlier that you came back from Europe to kind of be a part of the family business. Then where did it kind of come where, like at what point did you kind of step into that role of being like Byron Bay weddings and kind of overseeing all that?
well, this is going to make me sound really old. When the internet started, I think the internet was still there, and I'm not a very technical person, and that's why I think I called it Byron Bay Weddings. So I was like, well, I think they probably wanted me to call it something else. Like,
My dad's first business was like when he was registering through like Yellow Pages, and he was
Yellow
like
Pages.
AAA painting or something.
well, it was about that simple. Someone probably wanted to call it Two Doves Weddings or something like that, and I was just like, Byron Bay Weddings?
Yeah.
Where I don't want to do weddings anywhere else, so there it is. How did it first start? Well, I think it was a combination of my neck getting very sore from cooking and having to hold those phones up to my ear while I was cutting onions, and because the questions just kept coming.
Yeah.
What celebrant should we use? What photographer should we use? What hair and makeup artist should we use? And I was just like, I can't keep doing this. And then sending off a PDF actually it was a Word doc.
Yeah, doc back then,
It was just a Word doc. And said, there's a list of our preferred suppliers and there's this. And I was like, there's got to be an easier way. Like the internet's here. Like let's just have a website that acts as a tourist information centre.
Yeah, beautiful.
For weddings. Like it doesn't bother me if someone wants to get married at Earth House or the Surf Club or Orchard Estate or Byron View Farm or Forget Me Not. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
It's go and speak to Jo at Forget Me Not. She's a lovely lady. Go and speak to Munro at Earth House. Awesome.
Yeah.
And if you find that venue and you love that venue,
It's meant to be.
that's where it's meant to be.
Yep.
And if we've helped you on that journey, awesome.
Yeah.
If we get to cook for you, great.
Amazing.
better.
If you want to choose some of the chairs we've got in the shed, brilliant. And that's why the wedding shed's called the wedding shed, because it was actually a collection of sheds
Yeah.
that had wedding stuff in it. So it was nothing was too sophisticated. It was just it got born out of necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I needed then to have someone to communicate because I was cooking.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
So then, I met Sarah and Helen, who, are wonderful communicators.
Yep.
Really good at emails, really good at dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Yeah.
They weren't from a wedding planning background.
Yeah.
They're both beautiful mums that came from a corporate background.
Yep.
That understand the attention to detail, understood the necessity to write back in a timely manner.
Yep.
Me, I was just like, what are you stressing? I'm not buying the fish till the morning of. Why do you want to know the menu 6 months out?
Yeah.
So they kind of helped me kind of go, well, if they know this menu 6 months out, they can get it to the printer.
Yeah.
But more importantly, that's one job done for them.
Yeah. Tick that off.
So the bride or the couple, they can sit there and be, relaxed.
Yeah.
Done that. And that's how the wedding planning kind of evolved.
Yeah.
And then it became, with the wedding shed, it became more of a situation of, there wasn't that many cool chairs and tables and things like that out there. And a combination of that and a lot of the other hire companies just delivering it to the front door.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, hang on, I've got to take all my chairs out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then store them somewhere, and then got to then carry all your chairs in, set them up, and then at the end of the night take your chairs out, and then get my chairs back in.
Yeah.
And you're hiring the chairs out for $10 each.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just cooked the main course, and that was $30.
Yeah, yeah.
Might as well get a couple of chairs and get a shed.
Exactly.
So that was the kind of the growth of that. And I'm not the stylist, so then it was having these amazing people that are great with colours and styles and trends and
They curate all of that.
Like I remember seeing my first peacock chair. I forget how many years ago it was, 15 years ago, and going, who's going to want to sit in that?
Everyone.
And then I was just like, for 10 years, no one wanted to sit in anything else.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I remember the first peacock chair was like $350 to buy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is like most expensive chair I ever bought.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times we hired it out. I was just like, this is the best chair ever.
All of a sudden, Dad wants his peacock chair and a steak and chips.
That was just amazing. I was just like, peacock chairs, they're great. I mean, there's been some trends that, that I'm glad to see the back of them, but I'll be surprised when they don't come back again.
Exactly.
Ironically, when
Chair sashes is a classic.
Yeah, the purple sashes. I saw ones the other day in a styled shoot. Just really beautiful lace drapery behind it. Not so much the purple bow, but it was just like, wow. Ironically, when we first kind of restarted doing weddings at the Figtree, there was it was the whole rustic thing.
Yeah.
So, and I could only afford mismatched chairs. I opened up another restaurant with my brother in the main street of Byron and called Why Not? And it was cool, trendy, new chairs, everything matching, kind of cool. So I was stuck up here at the Figtree with mismatched glasses and cutlery and chairs, and it was great. And then people walked in and were like, oh, so how much extra is it for the mismatched chairs? And I was like, okay.
20 grand.
$15 a chair.
This is great. And that kind of became this business of, I don't know, dates with girlfriends going to, op shops, buying different chairs and painting them, and Sunday romantic kind of fixing chairs ready for next week's wedding. So, it just constantly evolved. And it wasn't this grand master plan.
Yeah.
It was nothing more than, there's a need for that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's how it kind of grew.
Do you see some stuff like evolving still from here? Obviously, like there'd be stuff, but
It's constantly,
Yeah.
It's even this week, like content creators at weddings, just wow, they've just popped up this season, and it's like amazing.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see a random person walking around with an
iPhone.
with an iPhone, especially if I look back 6 years ago and they said no phones at weddings. This is a non-social wedding, and now you see someone who's paid to turn up and do a beautiful video.
Yep.
And then, like I was speaking to a couple last week and they were like just over the moon.
Yeah.
They said, we got to bed and, you guys had brought over a bit of extra food and we sat there and had a cake and a glass of wine, and then we saw this little reel. I've got to say the right words, but I saw a little reel
The
of
internet
their
thingy.
little video of their wedding and just the highlights of it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, cool.
Yeah.
And they were just buzzing. And then the next morning they woke up and it was, I don't know, posted on their socials. They must have had passwords that
Yep.
all weren't the postcode of Byron Bay. And they must have had passwords and kind of figured it out, but it was just done.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
like, wow, that's amazing.
I was
Yeah.
speaking to Tanya not long ago. She's creative house,
house.
and she was saying at the start when she started doing it, she had to wear like a T-shirt or brandings because no one knew what she was, and there's just some random walking around with a phone. And now she does ceremonies, and everyone knows who she is.
Yeah.
And it's like it's definitely evolved pretty quickly.
And you've got people that are kind of there as kind of live guest books.
Yeah.
Rather than kind of,
Yeah.
writing pen and paper and rather than using an old phone or something like that, they're kind of like interviewing.
Yeah.
And saying, how do you know the couple? Was it, tell me the story. And it's great. And then the couple go watch it, and they're beautiful things.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of constantly evolving like that. Like I even think food-wise, like, I remember, when it came back, people like chicken, fish, alternate serve.
Yeah.
In the rest of the world, there's no such thing as alternate serve. Like you either have beautiful share platters or you've got a set menu or a tasting menu, but it's never alternate. It's very Australian.
Yeah.
So I'd come back and this word alternate serve started again. And I was like, God, really?
Yeah.
Chicken, fish?
Yeah.
How do we do this a bit better?
Yeah.
And it was, okay, let's do some platters.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, well, pretend you're going to a buffet, but you're not queuing for food.
Yeah.
It gets brought to your table.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, that sounds new and exciting. I'm like, no, it's just what the rest of the world does.
We're just behind.
And now just about every wedding.
Yeah.
Beautiful feasting tables.
Yeah, we
Everyone
got
helping
offered that
themselves.
for our wedding, and I was like, no, let's just do the alternate drop. But I think it was even cheaper to do the the buffet style.
You don't have all-
There's more food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to get rid of the word buffet.
Yeah, I said
Yeah,
buffet, and
dress
then
it
I was
up,
like,
dress it
I hate buffets.
Share table. And I think it's
Share
that same
table.
thing. It's like when you mentioned the word wedding packages, I think it's it's kind of the word I just like, it's not a package.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
These are, there's some facts and figures. That's a price for the venue.
Yeah.
But that's what it includes. But how do we change that to be your day?
Like an a la carte for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's, again, one of the reasons why weddings become expensive. You want to design a house.
Yeah.
It's going to be a designer price.
Yep. Sure.
You want to design a wedding, it's going to be a designer.
Yep.
Like I've opened up other wedding related businesses that I thought that, oh God, that's going to nail it.
Yep.
There's a wedding business called Savvy Wed, which was great. Came from a very kind of, I think, male mind where I was like, cool, $30,000 wedding. I can do that. All included, 80 people, simple. It'll have to be a Thursday in 6 months' time. We'll use that photographer, that celebrant, that hair and makeup artist, bang, done.
Yep.
And to me, that was simple.
Yeah.
Then when we rolled out the product, it was the one thing I didn't count on was the fact that everyone actually still wants a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to have that date. I want the next date.
Yeah.
I don't want to have that photographer. I want another photographer. But the more choice you have, the more expensive it's going to be.
Makes sense.
It's like it's the more personal.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes I talk about when people say, oh, weddings are expensive. I said, oh, go out to a nice restaurant for dinner.
Yeah.
Tell me how much that's going to cost
Exactly.
you.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, maybe $150 a head.
Yep.
I'm like, cool. So you're there for about 2 hours? They're like, yeah. I said, well, okay, go there for a cocktail beforehand.
Yeah.
Add that to the bill.
Yeah.
And a cocktail afterwards.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, well, it's 3 hours, maybe $200 a head.
Yeah.
I said, cool. Now get a taxi there get a taxi home.
Yeah.
Now go get a photographer to take photos.
Yeah.
Now go change the decor of that restaurant, get a couple of flowers. Now
Get some
extend the time to
mismatched
8
chairs.
hours. You know? Decide you don't like that music, get a band in the corner. Now invite 100 of your friends.
Yeah.
You know, like, and actually you need new clothes for your wedding and dinner. So that's where it becomes more expensive.
Fair point.
So it's kind of, I think budgets are always this thing of people kind of going, well, how do I work this in? 'Cause it's one of those topics that no one wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Budget for their wedding.
Yep.
You know, when I got married in Japan, it was great.
Yeah.
It was all in yen.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I just didn't look at the conversion rate.
Just like,
You know, it was great. Oh, it's just this is funny money. But I think if you have, it's like anything. If you start off and you find out what the costs are going to be, and then you start your wedding journey. So my best advice to couples looking to get married: do some research.
Yeah.
Research is free.
Yeah.
It might cost a bit of time.
Yeah.
But if you then speak to informed people that help you on that journey, you'll be able to then find out, oh, cool, the venue's that, the caterer's that, the hire is that, the different suppliers work out that. That sounds great. Yeah. Now, once you have all that information, then the rest of the planning's actually quite easy.
Yeah.
Because you're not going, oh, suddenly.
this popped up.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that the settlements were going to be that much.
Yep.
You know, how do I save money? It's like building a house.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you understand the journey, then it's actually, and surround yourself with people that know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and you trust them, then it's going to be a great process.
Yeah, definitely. And even just like looping back to that, how you were saying like there's that wedding tax.
Yeah.
It's like a very common thing that people are like, oh, as soon as you tell them that you charge, as soon as you say that, like, oh, it's for a wedding, they're like, oh, we'd chuck 30% on or something.
Yeah.
But like there's so much more to that. Like even, just coming from photo, video point of view is like there's, we can't relive the wedding day twice. So it's like we've got to have so many things in place to make sure that we've got backups of photos and even after the fact, like a year later when you're like, oh, have you still got the copy of the ceremony? It's like, yes, I do. Yeah. Like I've got it backed up on this system, and it's like it's like those things that like if you're in the outside world and you just want like a family photo or something like that, like they're probably shooting on whatever camera on one card.
Well, it's like if you talk about videos, you say, well, what's the difference between a wedding and doing a real estate video?
Yeah.
So, real estate video you can do the next day.
Yep.
You can't replay that one.
Yep. Exactly.
It is time sensitive. And that when we were doing those postponements and going through terms and conditions with people, it's that opportunity cost.
Yeah.
No, you wanted that Saturday.
Yep.
I penned off that in
exactly.
my life
Yeah,
as well.
Yep.
That was your day.
Turned away other people.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's kind of, I don't think there's such a thing as a tax.
No,
like
not at
I speak to florists, I speak to hair and makeup artists. Like, I don't get a lot of hair and makeup done myself, but
Only on Saturdays.
Get it for a wedding, get it for I go speak to my barber. He does my hair. He charges $65 or something like that. It's the same if I'm getting married that day. So no, I don't think so.
No,
like I look at our menus, I look at what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's the same.
Yeah. It's not like a baby tax. There's definitely taxes on anything baby related. We got that tax.
Well, yeah, you've got 5. You don't even know too well.
I got no money.
I still laugh at the first time I fit a baby chair into a car. I was like, no, I've got to go to the mechanic.
Got to pay $80 for someone to fit it.
And now you do it kind of with your eyes closed and you're like, what was I thinking? And I'm sure the mechanics just, to them it's that little smile. They're like, no, we got it ready for you. Perfect. Very complicated these are.
Yeah. It's good that you came here.
It's a very difficult model, that one.
And I was reading about going back to the restaurant a little bit, like everything as much as you can sourced very locally. Also, I've seen pictures of you fishing. And I've seen the fish that you're pulling out. Do any of them get served up here?
I'm not allowed to serve them up here.
Okay.
So they get served at home. So it's as much as we can get locally. I mean, probably the biggest thing we don't get a lot of local now is probably about 50% of the staff are from here.
Yep.
And then at the moment now we've got this beautiful influx of South American staff that are working, and I love that. Like we kind of have about 110 staff. And about 70 of them are kind of permanent. And then we have this beautiful influx every season of these new faces, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it.
The Argentinians and the Brazilians are like so much party vibe as well.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing they're just having the best time, like the food, the drink.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's that freshness that you've always got to kind of bring.
Definitely.
And it's being in a business for so long. Sometimes you can become shop blind, or sometimes get just another wedding. So it's that kind of combination of surround yourself with people that are inspiring. and it keeps it all fresh.
Yeah. That was one of the things I was going to say was that considering that you've been doing this for so long, I feel like you are fresh. Like I feel like you almost have more fire than I am, and I've only been doing it for 5.
Well, I think I'm very lucky because I'm not just doing the one job every day.
Yeah.
You know, like I've got people, you know, at one moment I'm kind of chatting about marketing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm a cook.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about marketing, but there's a person that works for us that's what she studied.
Yeah.
You know, she's a guru at it.
Yeah.
And then we've got other people in the marketing team that are graphic designers and, you know, web design. And I'm just like, wow, you know, like I learned just as much. Then I come out of that and then I'm talking HR.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I come out of that and we're talking sales. Then it's talking wedding planning. And it's, you know, then I meet this beautiful couple that just happened to have come up. They probably made a booking. But they've happened to come up. And, they rock it. They even rock up. They're like, oh, we've heard about you. Here we are. And I'm like, wow, here's this couple that I've met somehow. And I try and, you know, without being too inquisitive, you know, how'd you meet? And I think to myself, here's this couple that could get married anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And in Australia, there's probably, I don't know, 10,000 beautiful spaces to get married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the wedding venues, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, but in the world, there's probably a couple of million.
Yeah.
And here's this couple that are thinking of getting married at my place.
Yeah.
Or getting married in Byron Bay. And I'm like, I'm just a sucker. I'm like, well, how can I help?
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you really want?
Yeah.
And so then you kind of naturally want to mow the grass and make sure the hedges are perfect and make sure that, you know, the way you've designed the garden and the venue is, you know, the air conditioning's on and, you know, like you just want to look after them.
Yeah.
You know, because it's their day.
It all feels very romantic. Like I feel like you are definitely a big softie.
Oh, yeah, well, you don't say it in front of too many people, but yeah, hopefully this doesn't go around all the world in the first episode.
The first week, yeah.
You know, don't replay this one.
Don't cap us.
Oh, no, be successful after this one. No, I don't know. I don't know how you don't have goosebumps. You meet this couple that are entrusting you with their day.
Yeah, definitely.
And they want to involve you to be a part of it. Like, as a hair and makeup artist, how can you not feel anything but privileged to be doing the hair and makeup of someone at 7 o'clock in the morning of one of the most significant days in their life?
Yep.
As a photographer, how can you not feel like, wow, you know, like this is a moment that they're going to look back on forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And their great grandchildren are going to look at these photos. Yeah. You know, like, and that's where I kind of get it. You know, like everyone remembers their wedding day.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know, so they might remember, you know, the dad will remember the steak and chips.
Yeah.
You know,
And the peacock chair.
and the peacock chair. But you know, it's like, how do you take that and just kind of replicate it with every different conversation you have?
Yeah.
And you know, that's what I wish more and more couples would be kind of like. You know, how do I make this my day? What can I do? And then we just have this simple system where we write. You know, you've got your agenda, and then you just write down the simple changes that they want to make.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do we have? I just think of the weekend we just had. Can we have 2 shots of tequila just after we do the signing?
Yeah.
And I read that and I was like, yeah, of course you can. You know, just say it's a culturally significant drink that equates the RSA side of things.
Yeah.
And have it just after your signing. You sure you don't want it just before your signing? No, but it's what they want to do.
It's 2, not 3.
Yeah. 2 before, 2 after. But it's those little things.
Yeah.
And I think if you keep passionate about the little things, the big things will look after themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
I feel really good after shooting. I personally haven't had many. I've more like me shooting with Steve, but like doing like Greek weddings or something like doing, you know, foreign weddings.
Like Jewish.
Like they're just, I almost feel like, I'm sure that there's to some sense like, you know, this is just what we do, but like it's just a beautiful thing. Like they're just like the dancing at like half of them. They're just, you know, they get the drums out and they're dancing around in a circle and like grandpa's up there dancing and he, you know, before was walking around in a cane and stuff. And it's just like, this is sick.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you've got to sometimes nurse that out of people.
Yep.
You know, coax it. That's probably a better word. And I think every wedding's like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of how do you help the people?
Definitely.
You know, and the more you can personalise it for them, the more that they feel comfortable.
For sure.
You know? So I tend to find a lot of our weddings, you know, like it's, you know, if we spend more time investing into the things that are important to you, the more that then the celebration becomes of them.
yeah, definitely.
You know, so it's, I mean, I love international weddings. I love different cultural aspects. But I love just delivering what they want.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and kind of tell me about what part of Greece is your family from?
Yeah.
So what dishes are significant? How does your grandma make that interpretation of that dish?
Yep.
You know, because I might have a different interpretation. And then when it comes to the photos or the videos or the music, it's like, how can we personalise this for you?
Yeah.
So I just think I'm in love with doing them. You know, like it's weird because I don't know if this will go out to the event industry or anything like that, but we have another part of our business which is events.
Yep.
And I'm like, we do it, and I'm not the head of it.
Yeah, okay.
You know, because I just find it just drier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's corporate, it's this, it's that, it's this, and lacks the heart and the soul. So I do the wedding part.
Yeah, it sounds very passionate about that.
Yeah, I was actually listening to another podcast probably about a year ago from photographer and videographer I think they're in Chicago, and same thing. They were like, "What's like your favorite?" And because like in the photography and video world, it's kind of like you very much start in weddings, and then you kind of always try and progress out into like commercial world, and like that's how you become that big dog producer or whatever. And it was like, and he had like this light bulb moment, and he was like, these couples get these films or these photos from me, and they remember them for the rest of their life. They look back at them, and you know, there's such sentimental value to that. And they're like, and yet he was like, that's my favorite thing over the Super Bowl, commercials and stuff that I've done. Yeah. And I was just like, it was kind of at that moment that I was just like, dude, this is like you were saying before, we are so privileged to be able to do this. Like, yeah.
I think it's if you find out what your purpose is, what you enjoy
definitely.
doing. Yeah. You know, like for me, you know, like a pivotal moment towards the start of COVID, and we were able to do, I think, 2 people once, some rule.
Yeah.
It was like maybe 2 people or 4 people at the weddings. And anyway, Emily phoned me up, who runs Elope, and phoned me up and said, this couple, they just want to have their elopement. Yep. I understand they can't have the other 20 guests, but, you know, they've got a little daughter. Can you do it?
Yeah.
And at the start of COVID, I think when it first hit, it was a situation where I had 70 staff, and I had to write them a letter. Say, look, I don't know what's going to happen, guys. Yeah. It was a legal letter, which was leave without pay.
Yep.
You know, it was basically saying, look, don't have a job for you. You know, like I'll slowly start paying out your holiday pays and all that, but I don't know what to do next week.
Yeah.
And then within a week, the government came through and did the job keeper or seeker or something like that.
Yeah.
And all the staff were stoked.
Yeah.
Like, great, $700 a week.
Yeah.
Don't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
As a business owner, I was just like, okay, so when's the government going to pay me the money to pay them?
Yeah.
And it didn't happen in my case for 3 pay cycles. So that was 6 weeks worth of pay that I wasn't getting any money from the government to pay the staff. And I was like, I've got to hope this is going to happen.
That's a lot of wages. Yeah.
But anyway, within this period of time, there was this couple they decided they wanted to have their elopement, and we were allowed to do it, so it was all fine. And
170 staff for that.
Everyone was working.
No one, like everyone was scared.
Yeah.
So no one wanted to work.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I can do it. It was really short notice. It was like tomorrow. I was like, cool, fantastic, I'll do it. So it was like 2 people and the daughter, and it was at a beautiful venue up in the hinterland. And so I was like, Emily, I'll do it.
Yeah.
She goes, what do you mean? I said, I'll do the whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go out there and I'll pour some champagne and make a couple of cocktails, serve out some canapes,
That's sick.
cook dinner, help them serve the dessert, and just did everything. And they kind of at the end of the night, you get to know the couple pretty well. It's just, I think there's a photographer there and this and that. Anyway, I kind of in the night, I said, so what are you going to do? And I said, oh, what do you mean? They said, with all this COVID and situation. I said, well, this just reaffirms what I love doing.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean? I said, well, my name's Che. And then, it's you're behind all of this. And I said, yeah, I get to cook, I get to serve.
Yeah.
You had a nice dinner, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had a nice wedding. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
And that just kind of helped me going through that whole period of time. It's like, as long as you're doing what you love and what you're passionate about, the money, that comes and goes. Look at what's happened over the last couple of years for all of us. It comes, it goes. Yeah. But the memories, the daily enjoyment, like that stays with you forever.
Yeah.
And I think that's, to me, everything about wedding.
Yeah.
To me, it's everything about life. And it's why you want to surround yourself with good people and just work with good people.
Yeah.
And it's, if you can open up to everyone, and everyone's got their vulnerabilities.
Yeah,
You know, the more you share your life story, the more they'll share their life story, and then you realise, oh, come on, we're all pretty similar.
Yeah,
you know, like
we're all
oh, you've
people.
been through that. How'd you get through that?
Yeah.
You know, and it's usually by other people.
Yeah.
Is what helps you get through.
Definitely.
So,
Community is for sure.
yeah. So then if you kind of flip that back to a couple that are looking at getting married, you're like, well, how can I help? You know, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And I think that's how I like to start my conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then going more onto your side of things, so like learning. So you've obviously got this CEO role. You're overseeing all these big businesses. You've got amazing people in there, like you've described, that are really good at the certain aspects they do. How did you go learning how to be that person and discovering that role?
He went to Gary Vaynerchuk.
Very, very good question. I've never put CEO on anything that I have.
Sorry.
So I kind of like...
I'm just a chef.
I'm just a cook, actually. That's what I say. I've met some chefs and they're tyrants, so I'm kind of like, I'm just a cook. I think probably the biggest thing is learning from your own mistakes.
Yep.
And realising that, you know, you need to evolve as a person. You know, like, because, you know, when I started cooking, it was very different to what it is now.
Yeah.
You know, like it was about being the hardest, toughest, rudest, meanest person in the room.
Yeah.
And I did really well at that.
Yeah.
But then it got to a stage where I was kind of like, this is not who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like that was like a mask. And I actually remember a wedding photographer when I first came back to Byron Bay, and he was quite a famous within the industry wedding photographer. And after the wedding, I said, look, do you mind if I get a couple of photos?
Yeah.
Just to put on our, I don't even know if it's a website, probably a web page or something back then. And he's like, oh, you know, you'll need to pay me some money. And I said, oh, what for? And he's gone, oh, because that's my product. And I said, well, hang on, like, you took a photo of my product.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure we could do something here and work together.
Out. Yeah.
And anyway, he ended up saying no. And I was like, cool, it's all good. Don't worry about it. I'll just do my own thing.
Yeah.
And I just did my own thing. And then SE started and all these other photographers started going, oh, Che, can I come and take a photo shoot? And I said, no problem. You take some photos, I'll promote you. And so then it became this, we're all here to help each other.
Yeah.
So then when you learn from that mistake, you inherently know if you've done something wrong.
You do.
There's that voice that kind of says, oh, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just listening and to yourself, but listening to others and then kind of going, well, actually, no, that's right. That's right. And then every day, like I today I had 4 or 5 meetings with all these beautiful people that work with me.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of them are university educated, really intelligent, articulate, stylish people. And I'm just a cook. And I'm kind of like, God, how do I impart some of my life lessons with some of them? But, you know, like things happen in their life that they impart wisdom to you. So I think it's that very, I don't know if I'll ever be a CEO.
Okay.
You know, like we're all just trying, aren't we?
Yeah.
So it's kind of that. I mean, look at you, 5 children. I'm just
My
in awe
wife's
of
the
that.
CEO of the house.
Actually, my wife's she's CEO of everything I do. But, you know, 5 children, like you'd have some amazing life lessons.
Yes.
Yeah, like I've got 2 and I'm kind of like, oh, wow. You know, sometimes I'm like, I've nailed it. Then the next day I'm like, oh no, I haven't.
Would have done that better.
So it's kind of like, and how do you take that into, you know, dealing with staff, you know, dealing with suppliers, you know, it's kind of, I think, compassion, you know, and trying to understand as much as possible. And
you'd also talked about traveling a lot. Do you still, and I'm sure that I'm just going to assume that's definitely affected and you've implemented that into your business. Do you still travel regularly to bring ideas back to Byron?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And the nicest thing with travel is you don't even have to leave your hometown.
Yeah.
You know, like they have an Arabic saying that don't dismiss this dish as just food. It's a civilization within itself. And if you open a book, you're instantly travel.
Yes.
You know, like sometimes I think the nicest thing about cooking is, you know, you get some fish, put on some music, go and put on some Moroccan music. Yeah. Suddenly you're cooking Moroccan.
Yes.
You know, like you're there. You're like, wow, here I am.
Yeah.
You know, and likewise that traveling for inspiration, I think it's all about surrounding yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you surround yourself with negative people. You surround yourself with negative thoughts. you wake up in the morning and you have that, or you wake up after a heavy night's drinking or whatever, and you feel sorry for yourself and you don't train, and it just perpetuates itself. So if you wake up in the morning and you might have had a great night last night, but if you wake up in the morning and go for a jump in the ocean or go for a jog or do some training, then it just leads on to the next one.
Yeah.
And life's a snowball effect.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's about keeping that positivity. And it's, it's not always easy.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, that's why you surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
Because when you have that down day,
Yep.
you know that person's batting for you.
For sure.
So that's how I'd kind of probably look at it.
Yeah, okay, beautiful. And then do you have any, as far as like work-life balance, are you pretty good in that aspect?
Well, I think I'm great at it.
Yeah.
Like work's great, life's great. I actually don't see it sometimes my wife might think differently to me, but to me it's just one big glorious thing.
Yeah.
Like if you don't like running, don't run a marathon.
Yeah.
If you don't like cooking, don't be a chef. Like if you don't like working hard, don't open your own business. Like I think it's one of those things. It's the hours of this, I can't do this. It's like, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You can do something else, because if you love what you're doing, then the next day becomes inspiring.
For sure.
Like if you don't have as many bookings as you have this time for next year, work harder.
Yeah.
Like there's always a different way of doing it. Like I don't know how I divide my day and what percentages I do, but I have a quite structured day. This is and that structure allows me creative freedom, but it also allows me to get jobs done and then move on to the next one and not kind of product creep it. And then when you're walking through your life's journeys, like if you surround yourself with good people, you've got a structured life, then you can help other people.
Yeah, definitely.
And it just it feeds it back into itself.
And even going back to kids, like you're modeling that to them. You're not teaching them to be miserable and just push through. You're teaching them this is how to live a fulfilled life.
You're the guru here.
Same thing.
What did I hear the other day? It was like, you're not an engineer, you're a shepherd.
Yeah.
Like you can't design your children. You can't do that. You're just a shepherd. Allow them to be. Guide them in the right direction. I was talking with some colleagues at work the other day just around the table, and we're talking about iPhones and things like that. And I said, well, I don't know. They're a bit young for that at this stage, but there's inherent technology that's great for them to learn. It's how do we, someone compared an iPhone, I think, to a cigarette. In 15 years' time or 20 years' time, there'll be these ads that I used to be on Instagram. I used to use AirPods. And it's kind of now like as a parent or someone, it's like, well, how do we guide our children to, cigarettes exist. But you probably shouldn't use it. Social media exists, but there's a good way to use it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I think the joke or the ad kind of went something along like, you use your phone in front of your children, and I'm sure that'll become a thing. I can't believe you use your phone in front of children. It's like smoking in front of your children. So
my wife sends me reels all the time of just like, your kids become addicted from watching you on the phone. I'm like, chill out.
Go to a school.
I don't know why they're not addicted to cleaning then. Because I'm constantly cleaning after them. Why don't you get addicted to certain things?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. On that, I think we all have to wrap up just for time wise.
Yeah, cool.
That was amazing.
That was As far as people reaching Byron Bay weddings, like a Figtree, how do they go about that? Where should
I the email, Instagram, all those things. I'm probably sure there's even TikTok these days. Like, well, that's why it's called Byron Bay weddings. Pretty easy to get there. Just type it in somewhere.
Beautiful.
But also just drop in. It's. One of the things that got me through kind of the rebuild of the restaurants was actually the restaurant had burnt down in the middle of COVID, and people would just drop in every day, and they'd be kind of like, they're wearing masks or doing whatever, but they'd drop in. We got married here 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This is where our daughter got married, and it was it's just beautiful, and that's what keeps you going. So get in contact anyway. Perfect. Just enjoy your whole wedding process. Whether if you're in the industry, your colleagues are going to be your best friends. And if you're looking at getting married, just speak to the people. Everyone generally loves what they're doing. From a hair and makeup artist through to a celebrant, through to a taxi driver, they love it. And they've all gone through similar life experiences. So it's the more you communicate, the more you'll get back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Have fun.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Go for it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wedco podcast. We're dropping a fresh episode every week featuring industry professionals dishing out the wedding wisdom you need to turn those dreams into reality. Make sure you are following us on social media, you have those notifications turned on so we can help plan your wedding day. Your dream wedding day just got a whole lot easier. Thanks for listening.